Okay, I've got white Primo that has been rolled out on a 4 on my pasta machine. As you can tell, I haven't trimmed the edges or even worried about the edges. I've got the Stamperia, I don't know what it's called, the gears texture plate. I'm just going to roll over it with my acrylic roller. Oh, I have sprayed water on the back of it. Hopefully to keep it from sticking. And as you can probably see, that was not a good impression whatsoever. So let's try it again. Well, that was a little better in some places and not in others. After trying several times with the polymer clay, which did not take the texture very well, I've got this DOS paper clay, or modeling material, I think they call it. I have sprayed the back with water once again. Ah, finally, a result I can live with. Okay, evidently the polymer clay just provides too much resistance. Okay, so I'm going to take the lid to this candle tin. And drape it over it. Alright. So the fact that it doesn't fit completely, that's fine. Just gonna bend it around. Okay. And then I'm gonna trim it. Let's use the clay blade here. I'm gonna catch just above that little roll right there. And just go all the way around. Alright, just an approximation, that will work. Alright, not the best impression, but it's mostly going to be hidden anyway, so weirdly enough, I didn't have near as much trouble with the clocks. Alright. Now, we'll just let that dry. Now, what I did on the one with the clocks is I also made a band that went around the outside of the can. So, let's try that. Okay, after quite a bit of trial and error and cussing and all kinds of fun stuff, this can is approximately 1.5 inches wide. Although I do have a cutter that will do a much better job than that ruler. So, 1.5 inches. Alright. And as per usual, I didn't account for where the can closes. So this area of the lid can't be covered. So let's try it again. Alright. So there we go. Now we'll need to trim this little side up. Okay, one of the things that I wanted to say is I left this part in to show you that things don't always work out the way you think they're going to. And part of being an artist is to continue to go on even when things don't look the way you want them to. And one of the things that I tell people all the time is that only you know that it was a mistake. Unless you advertise that, only you know it's a mistake. The people viewing or purchasing or whatever the case may be, they think you did it intentionally and that it's part of the process, which it was. Sometimes you have to go through a little bit of what you don't like to get to what you do like. So even though this was meant to be a lesson on polymer clay, the polymer clay didn't work out so well. So I just went past that and used the modeling material. It will still turn out even better. I'm going to put a few gears and stuff under the faucet knob. And a few more around the edges for just a little steampunk kind of feel. But now you know, or possibly you already did know, don't let small mistakes stop you from creating the work that you want it to be. Those can be overcome. Alright? Okay, now just to give you a little bit of background, this is actually the sprocket handle that my husband brought me. As you can see, the middle is broken out. It's just a lightweight aluminum faucet handle. Alright? I could have used this because, like I said, it really is very light and doesn't weigh hardly anything. But I knew I'd want to use it again. So I took the amazing mold putty, which I did used to be on the design team, which is why I still have this stuff. It's fantastic. You can make molds of just about anything. I've made a mold of the wooden rings off the top of my porch posts, which was fabulous. Things like this faucet knob. Then the moon mold is actually from the, well, doesn't really show you anything very well, but it shows it's the keyholes mold, but it's the stars and moon mold by Prima. Now, this particular face is actually my moon mold, but it's basically the same size. The gears are from, I don't know what this one is called either, but it's the one with the wings, and then it's got a few gears. Okay, you can see the little gears and clock parts from that, and I just used this amazing casting resin. That's my work right there. There. This stuff literally cures in 10 minutes. So a lot of people have shown that they have trouble working that fast. But after you get the hang of it, really and truly, it's not that big a deal. It comes with this little bitty measuring cup. And it's my opinion that it comes with such a little bitty cup because you really don't want to mix up more than this because it cures so fast. You wouldn't be able to use it in time. So, let's just give this one, for example. If you filled up the gears and you still had a little left, you'd want to have another mold set aside that you could just pour the rest into, just to be able to use it all. Otherwise, it'll just set up in the cup. You can't stop it from setting up. It does that on its own, trust me. But there's lots of uses that you can find for this amazing casting resin. Okay? That being said, now this one is a little bit more difficult, the gears, to do something like the molding material of the paper clay. That would be a little bit more difficult. These clock parts would be easier, as well as the stars and the moons. Those would be super simple. As you can see, this is a paper clay clock part, as well as this one. Now, they do have a tendency to warp a little bit, whereas if you use the resin, they will be flat. They will have all of the detail, even the little ridges around the edge. Okay, this one and this one are the same thing. Paper clay, resin. Alright. You can see how it was much easier to maintain the holes in this resin version than in the paper clay one. Okay? But if paper clay is all you have, it would definitely work, because once we paint it, and then you put a dry brush or wax or whatever you want to put on top, you won't even be able to tell that the holes aren't there. Okay? So, I just wanted to throw that little explanation in, and also to show you the faucet knob. Like I said, you can make molds of literally anything. My husband and I were at the dollar store last night, and we happened to walk down the aisle that on one side is the toys and stuff. On the other side is like shipping materials and stuff like that. Why they put those on the same aisle, I don't know. But anyway, as we were looking through the toys, I said, keep your eye out for anything I can make a mold out of. He said, I'm pretty sure everything's already been made a mold of. But that doesn't matter to me. Okay? Okay, now I've covered it with black gesso, and I haven't done the inside on this one, because this one I'm going to use for a little storage container. Once again, I've covered it with black gesso. The little white specks, they won't even show in the finished product, so don't worry about those too much. Now, the one thing that I did was I covered this with black gesso, and I covered the elements with black gesso separately. because when I glue them together, when I glue them together, I want the black to still show when I put wax or paint or whatever. I don't want it to cover the shadows. Okay? Now, I'm going to use the 3D matte gel. This just happens to be Finnabar's because it's the first one I found. And I was out. So, I decided I have covered the back on the part that's gonna stick over. Okay. Now on these little gears, they're not really going to stick over, but it can be a toss-up to decide where I want these placed. Okay, now that covers the top pretty much. What I want is for this to lay pretty flat, which it does. Okay, but I'm going to build up the bottom with a little bit of cardboard. Now, I want to touch on what I did here. I painted the entire thing silver first. Just silver acrylic paint. Doesn't matter the brand. Let that dry, and then I went over parts of the faucet knob. I wanted it to look like it had been painted and chipped off, and I did rust paste on the face, the moon face, and then I went back over it with the silver metallic wax from Finnabar. I really hated it. I hate to say that, but it was too bright, it was too fake looking. I just really didn't like it at all. So, before I painted over the whole thing, I decided that I would take a little Lindy's Stamp Gang. I believe it was maybe the Cowabunga Copper. Anyway, I just sprayed it just a little bit. It's just a little bit of sheen that you can see. And it made all the difference in the world. So I decided not to paint over it. And I just went with it like it is. So I'm just going to go with it like it is. Okay, now we've got the top finished. Put that aside for a bit. Now, on the can itself, I didn't really care for how blank this area was. So I'm gonna put, not my favorite, but the one that will fit, this little keyhole. It's from the keyholes mold, which is Prima IOD. Okay, so I'm gonna put that right there. Now I'm gonna push it down as opposed to it sticking up, because I don't want it to interfere with the box closing. So now this is the 3D matte gel, so it is matte. Okay, again, this key, which you can use any key mold, but this particular key was off something else and I made a mold out of it. I've had it for literally years. And I liked it because it's got a little skull and crossbones in the middle. Okay, so again, I'm going to put it right here, right where it's got a little blank spot. Now this was made from resin, and for some reason it didn't cure completely hard, so which is a good thing in this case. So I'm just going to hold it down for a second and let that set up. Okay, I've got these Art Alchemy waxes. This is the brushed iron, and this one is the old silver. Keep in mind that you could use acrylic paint, you could use Inca Gold, you could use gilding paste. What you use is your own decision. These are what I have, and these are what I'm going to use. Now, a tiny bit goes a really long way with these. I'm going to start out with the brushed iron. Okay, I went ahead and got out the white gold as well. You really won't be able to tell much of an effect, but at least not on camera. But it really does have an effect. Okay, and then I'm going to finish with the old silver. Okay. Now let's see if it needs anything else. Okay, now I have the Merlot. I don't know what kind of Merlot it is. Let me get my eyes and I'll tell you. Madame's Merlot. Whoa. I've got a really soft brush. Just gonna hit right along the bottom. Maybe a little bit of shadowing. Okay. That just reinforces the red, although it's not exactly a red. It's more of a maroon. So I've got this other color that's called clay. Okay, that will turn this into a bit more of a red look. Okay. Now, of course, it's not quite dry yet. The glue is still not quite dry. So, we'll let it set for a while. But that is basically it. Really turned out well. Alright. So, please like, share, and subscribe. I'll list my social media links down below. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.